See what we got now.
We are live, Facebook fam. Welcome back to the rainy and very cold garden in Oxford Road with my good friend Peter.
Yeah.
Who's once again here to keep me honest.
Yeah. Divulge and go deep into the mind of Mr. Timms himself.
Yeah, if we can. So Pete, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, yeah, and I was trying to resist taking my shoes off and grounding myself in the cold, wet weather, but unfortunately it is an essential part of this life coaching experience for me to remove my footwear and become at one with Mother Nature.
Absolutely, and
So
to be honest, it's very cold. My feet are very cold on this wet and damp concrete on a cold June summer day.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of England, right?
That is the beauty of England, yeah.
When you live in Dubai, these days are actually exciting.
They are. They're few and far between.
They're few and far between, because all we see over there, as you know, is just blistering sunshine.
Blistering sunshine, ridiculously hot weather, and yeah, it's not the most pleasant. It's certainly not like it is here anyway.
Absolutely not. So how have you been?
I've been very well, thank you. Yeah,
good.
Making good progress of my own journey. Thank you very much for the life coaching that we've been doing somewhat publicly here on your live Facebook thing, which is
that's wonderful.
Yeah, really helping me to pick up momentum and take more responsibility and ownership of the business ventures that I'm involved with and the various different aspects of my life. So I feel like I'm making good progress.
Okay, that's wonderful, Pete. And what do you think you've done differently as opposed to your old habits of behaviour? What do you think you've done differently? And let's say in the last 2 weeks. What have you done differently?
Yeah, it's reduced the conflict and aligned more of my actions with my words. And I think that is really helped me to clarify what it is that I'm doing, my mission.
Okay.
It's also helped me to form my vision a lot more. It's also helped me to be a lot more confident with how I present myself in the various settings that I find myself in, and just generally feel a lot more confident about who I am and what I'm doing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. And what do you do when you have an off day? Or when you're not feeling at your best, what do you do? Because I think that's a very important thing to discuss.
It's really interesting you say that, because this morning I suddenly found myself in a situation where I could have gone down that old route of that old me, which was motivated, but somewhat, not fully motivated. And what made me bring me back to presence was gratitude.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I remembered the privilege that I have of being able to live in such a beautiful country, have a roof over my head, air in my lungs, 4 limbs, a healthy body, food on the table, and everything that I needed in order for me to go out there and follow my dreams, whatever it was that I wanted to set myself for that day. So gratitude was a big part of that. That's really helped me. So I really recommend if you haven't done that yet, then try and embody that as much as possible. And in addition to that, the night before, writing down my to-do list for the coming day.
Okay, that's helped you?
Massively.
More structure?
More structure. Again, it's helped me to organise my thoughts a lot more and align my actions with my thoughts and with my words.
So it's so damn important, because our actions will always define us, right?
Yes.
Your past behaviour is a far bigger predictor of your future than your words will ever be.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Yeah. And so this is something that's so important to me, to correlate with what you say with what you do. And the more you align them, the more you can you can trust yourself.
Yes.
And the more the world trusts you.
Yeah.
There's no more big question marks over the head of. I'll use you as an example. This is not about you. This is just for the purposes of the live chat. If you tell me something and you don't deliver on it, there's a question mark over your head. That's a small one. If you do it a second time, the question mark grows.
Yeah.
The third or fourth time, all of a sudden, I can't trust you.
Yes.
Not that I don't love you as a friend, but I can't trust you any longer because you're not delivering on what you're saying. And what is a man without his word? Or what is a woman without her word?
Yeah, and again, it's another great point, because what I find is as you align your words with your actions more, you actually build up a lot of momentum. And you don't only build up momentum in your own mind, but you also start to build up momentum in other people's minds who you're engaged with. They kind of become, or Peter Sullivan or Darren Timms is somebody that is responsible and I can rely on, and when they say they're going to do something, they can actually deliver and do it.
Bingo. Absolutely. And I think that's so damn important. But do you ever have days, Pete, when you wake up in the morning, or you know, it's a general malaise hanging over you, and you don't want to work out, you don't want to eat healthily? It's just like one of those days where you just think you just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have those days?
Quite often, but they are getting less. And one of the reasons why they're getting less is for a number of years now, I have really programmed myself to have quite a specific routine in the morning, and that is solely focused around nutrition.
Okay.
So the very first thing I do every morning, and have done for the past 5 years, is wake up early in the morning and have a very fresh vegetable smoothie with protein.
Wonderful.
And I find that really helps me to set myself up for a good day. And the days that I don't do that, I do feel a little bit off.
Yeah.
But even around that, I sometimes have a few off days that are I think are more related to what I did the previous day and how I went to sleep that night. Maybe I didn't write my to-do list, or I didn't clarify my thoughts, or I had some bad energy from an interaction with somebody that I didn't really clear my psyche of. So
okay, I get it.
I still feel a little bit of maybe a bit of emotional negativity towards that which you should really leave at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, there's a saying where don't go to bed on an argument.
Yes.
Don't sleep on an unresolved problem.
Yeah.
If you can help it.
Yeah.
Especially between two people. There are events and circumstances in the world where you just aren't in control of them, and you have to go to sleep on it. But if you are having a conflict with another person, that can easily be resolved if you remove the ego from the equation and pick the goddamn phone up, or send a message, or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, and again, you know, you mentioned a lot of interesting things which are quite relevant to me at the moment. What I've noticed is recently I've got a couple of property transactions going on in Oxford at the moment, and I've actually been thinking that somebody's been trying to cheat me, and I've been forming this image in my mind that this person's trying to cheat me. Whereas in actual fact, that is not the case at all.
Yeah.
And what it is, what that's showing me is that I need to actually make a bit more effort in maintaining my relationship with that individual. And as a result of doing it, I've realised that that's not the case, and it was some aspect of me that was almost looking for failure, or looking for things not to be successful.
Well spotted. So the question I would ask you, if you were sat in a session with me now, because all perception is projection, right?
Yes.
All.
Yeah.
There are no like deviances from that.
Yeah.
So I would say, you mentioned I thought he was cheating me. So my question to you would be, where do you feel that you're cheating on yourself in life? Or where have you been cheating on yourself in life?
Yeah.
Because remember, we build visual representations of other people based on who we are.
Yeah.
Right?
And for me, that really comes back to the vision. And I had a vision at one point when I was doing the hard work necessary in order to bring this deal about, but I let go of that vision, and I didn't maintain it, and I didn't realise that I was actually capable of doing it, and therefore I kind of let it shift to the side and almost felt like I wasn't worthy of it in some way.
Okay.
But then when I realigned myself with the vision that I had created when I put the necessary hard work in, I found that I was able to orientate myself towards that again in a much more positive light, which kind of reminds us that you have to remind yourself around what the vision is and keep it fresh in your mind.
Very much, and be aware of the limiting beliefs that arise around anything that you are involved with.
Yeah.
Remember, we are projecting our inner reality, which is very unique and subjective, out onto the outside external world, and believing that to be a definitive truth.
Yes, and I think a classic example of this is Anthony Joshua in his last fight. You could kind of see in him that he didn't have, there was something missing behind him. And I mean, nobody knows what it is, and it could only be speculation, but you could see that there was definitely a lack of kind of vision or determination with him to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know what went on with Anthony Joshua in particular, which is quite poignant, because we have like the heavy bag behind us that that both of us hit off on a daily basis. But I think Mike Tyson was the same, and this is not going to be about a boxing blog, so calm down. But this is very important. Mike Tyson's cloak of invincibility was destroyed the moment that outsider Buster Douglas knocked him over, and took away the whole persona that he's unbeatable. Joshua was carrying that same invincibility cloak into a little fat guy from Mexico. No disrespect to fat Mexicans, by the way. Beat him up. Severely, and he didn't know what to do. He's a human being, Anthony Joshua, and he's tasted that reality now, that he's not indestructible.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about sports, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, boxing, whatever sport it is everything can change in a split second.
In a second. Now here's the thing. Using Joshua as an example, you could use anybody that has been through that dark night of the soul, which he's going through right now. Will you allow that defeat to define you, or will you allow that defeat to create the newer, better Mark II?
Love it.
Joshua Mark II, and will he then become an even better human being, a better fighter, a better athlete, because he's tasted defeat? He realizes now that he is flesh and bone, and that we are going to fall over. There are people out there who are going to have our number, and that can beat us at any given time. And life is like that, isn't it? At any given time, life is going to knock you down.
And that's great, because this gets into the other thing that you do, which is the whole NLP coaching, the neuro-linguistic programming, and how we create the stories from the experiences that we have.
Absolutely, Pete.
And those stories either have a positive outcome or a negative outcome.
So bloody true. So very powerful. Like what Pete's talking about is the language of the mind we use, and the internal representations that we build around those stories from the moment we came into this world, because that's what we do. That's what the unconscious mind does. It relates events and circumstances to emotions. And so whatever let's say the first time you got angry, an event happened where you became angry, and you built a limiting belief around that event, meaning that every time this happens, I'm going to become angry. And the unconscious mind correlates your thinking and your emotion to the event. Every time it happens again, you have the same reaction, and that's how habits are formed. So to change the outcome of a particular event, you must unhook the emotional charge that's attached to it.
Wow.
Right? And reframe it from the perspective of an adult now looking down on it. Reframe it. The unconscious mind presents to the conscious mind for resolution that which doesn't uphold prime optimum health, mentally, physically, spiritually, and allows you to let it go and process that information, reframe it, and move past it. Now, I know it's very deep, and it goes for every major emotion. We work on 5 or 6 major emotions, as you know: anger, fear, shame, hurt, sadness, and they're all major emotions that we feel, maybe not on a daily basis, but certainly over the week we'll have them all. What's happening there? You're programming, the processor in your mind, in the unconscious mind, is correlating how you feel at any given time to that particular emotion, and going back in time and pressing a play button, and the trigger for that play button is the emotion itself. So if you're scared, the unconscious mind recognizes that you're thinking and feeling fear, and it matches up the experience of fear for you, so you actually begin to feel and think and feel in a continuous loop.
Okay, so that, which kind of neatly leads into something that we were going to discuss, which is how do you change that subconscious programming, which you kind of touch on there a little bit, which is going back and unhooking
Yep.
the emotion associated to that particular trigger.
Yeah, the event
Yeah,
is the,
the
event.
event.
The event is the trigger.
The event is the trigger.
Yeah, so you've got to unhook the meaning or the charge behind the event.
Yeah.
Because at one point in your life, you weren't angry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you were born into the world and you
Okay.
didn't know anything. You weren't
Absolutely.
happy, you weren't sad, you were just being.
You were just
Right.
being. And now, I believe that we all come into this world as an expression of the loving frequency or God frequency.
Yeah.
So we're all born princes and princesses. Through conditioning and through the world, we're turned into frogs. It's a different, it's the opposite way of kissing enough princes and princesses in you, right? And you kiss enough frogs and you'll find your prince, right? Or we were born as these princes and princesses, and life and culture and conditioning turned us into these hopping little creatures where we don't own our strengths and weaknesses. We look for ways to sort of hide behind them.
Yes.
We become limiting in our beliefs that we can achieve something.
Yeah.
We don't want to public speak because it's terrifying. We don't want to fail because that voice in your head will say, hey, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
I always told you you wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And what is that? That's an old story that's
Yeah.
running in your software.
That is something that I'm still dealing with a lot.
We all fucking
Yeah.
deal with it, Pete, every single day.
Yeah,
I don't
Jesus.
care who you are.
I ain't alone, you ain't alone. Yeah.
You're absolutely. Trust me, every single person is battling with storage running in their software that doesn't serve them on some level.
Yeah.
And I think the work is
and-
to, go on.
And this is all the subconscious programming from the years 0
Totally.
to 7.
Totally.
How do we go about changing that?
Okay, well, just to reaffirm that, and to show you how damn important it is, the Jesuit Church, one of the biggest churches on the planet, they said very clearly, "Give me the boy until 5, and I'll show you the man."
Nice, like that.
Right? What are they saying effectively? If I can imprint our belief system onto that child before they're 6 years old, I own them for life.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying, and they're right. People realise if we can brainwash the next generation from 0 to 7, we've got them for a lifetime. And it's true, unless you go into the unconscious mind and reframe the events, circumstances, and people that are triggering you based on your history. Is that somebody waving and clocking in there, Pete?
Oh yeah, no, it's battery notification. Let's just get rid of that. There we go.
Okay. Does that
So-
make sense?
It does, yeah. And I hear people talk a lot about affirmations, and some people find it useful, some people don't. But it was something interesting that you said to me earlier about changing the neurological programming. And what is required from an affirmation, there has to be like some type of emotional feeling behind it, right?
Absolutely, because the unconscious deals in emotions. We've touched upon this before with affirmations. If I sit here in this garden with you right now, Pete, and we can look around and we can both close our eyes and we can chant as a mantra, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, and we open our eyes and they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Why? For one, we don't believe it. Why? Because we haven't done the work necessary to correlate that statement
Yes.
with the fact.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do the same in the mirror at home, every night, and I recommend that people do this over an extended period of time. Look in the mirror, because self-love is or lack of self-love is pandemic through humanity. Look in the mirror, get undressed naked, stand there and say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, and you're going to have some feedback. You're going to look at yourself and the mirror's going to look back at you and they're going to say, you're not fooling me.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. That extra 15, 20 pounds you're carrying, or your face looking old, that's how you truly feel. So if you feel that and you're saying, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, and it doesn't correlate with a feeling, the unconscious mind sits there with his arms folded, almost like in a hammock, hands behind the back, saying, I'm not going to respond to that because you're lying. You're not being congruent.
So how do we get more like kind of emotion behind that? How do we tap into that emotional element within affirmation?
There's a few ways you can do it. There is the consistent route, the organic route.
So like a repetition.
Over and over and over and over.
Which is a bit like going to the gym.
Absolutely.
After a period of time when you're bench pressing 25 kilos, it suddenly becomes a little bit easier because you believe that you can do it and you build up the necessary strength within the muscle to be able to go out there and perform it.
So much true.
Which is, I guess, quite similar to when you're trying to almost, your brain is listening to you pronounce those words, and it's developing that kind of emotion in strengthening the brain.
Yeah, the mind is a muscle, like you said. The repetition, we use repetition and consistency in the gym to build muscle. What are we using there? We're using resistance. We need resistance on a repetitive basis to create our overall desired result. It's the same with the mind. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the more it becomes your servant. See, the mind and brain, they are incredible servo mechanisms, but if you don't give it direct instruction that is enhancing to you, it will just keep running the old programs, which I can assure you aren't enhancing to you. Right? So if you want to change a program organically, and this might come as a surprise to you guys, but you've got to do it if organic is the way through for you. 66 days. Between 66 and 250 days of repetitive new behavior every single day. So the neurons in the brain are firing and wiring, and they're creating new pathways. And at the same time as you embracing a new pattern or new behavior, the old patterns of behavior are slowly unfiring and unwiring and dissolving. Right. So, but here's the thing: because the unconscious mind loves homeostasis and parity, and it will always take the path of least resistance. If you don't do it for long enough, you've only got to re-engage with the old behaviour, and those firing and wiring pathways are so strong, like a magnet, they just go.
Wow, they lock back together.
They lock back together, which is why consistency is the mother of all skill sets. You can't overcome adversity unless you are so damn strict with yourself. That's the first way. Second way is that something in your life has become so damn painful you can't take it for another second. Let's give you an example of that. Let's say I remember when I was partying and being a playboy 10, 15, 20 years ago, and I used to enjoy drinking tequila. And I remember being in a London nightclub and doing tequila shots. After the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th one, because they were so fast, I didn't realise what I was doing. I got to 15 tequila shots, and then literally 45 minutes later, I was wedged in a cubicle in the toilet, couldn't move, vomiting, and I couldn't get off the floor. And the doorman found me, took me out of the club, went home with my girlfriend, and I was laying on her floor, literally thinking I was going to die. And from that second, I associated so much suffering and pain with tequila, I can't even smell it now. Because it brings back the feeling of such an intense feeling of fear and death and suffering. Just the smell or the name tequila sends me into that space where keep that away from me. I'm not going down that road. So what happened there? Did it take me 10 or 15 years to change? No. It took me 10 or 15 years to get to a point where it was so painful that I decided in that second to change.
The pain was so great that you didn't want to experience it anymore. You had to find a new route.
Absolutely. So where could you apply that to your lives? In a relationship, perhaps? In a job, perhaps, which is so painful, so mind-numbing. A relationship that's so painful, it's so abusive. There's a line that you draw in the sand. And when that line gets crossed for the last time, you make that decision right there. I am done. I am done with this. And it's so real. It's not something you can fake. And I could give you loads of examples of it.
I mean, I've got a few myself. Black Sambuca was one of the ones for me that kind of aniseed smell and flavour one that really pushed me away from and changed my life and actually moved me away from drinking alcohol.
Okay.
Almost completely.
Okay, so I think it's important that we stay on this topic for a little while, because this is the crux of change. If you want change, then listen up and understand this. If you're not changing, if there's something in your life that's not working but you're not changing, I can guarantee you haven't had enough pain yet.
Yeah.
I said to my father, he loves a drink, but sometimes it gets to his stomach and he can't take it. Only when he's crippled and doubled up on the floor will he not go out for a drink, because he believes that alcohol is his medicine, is good for him, and that's his free will.
Yeah.
But I say to him, and this can apply to anybody, if you were drinking every night and you develop gout in your big toe, those crystals, it usually comes from alcohol abuse, and it swells up, and I've never had it, but I hear it's so damn painful, you can't take a step, and you loved alcohol a lot, would that pain of every single step be intense enough for you to realise that your habits of drinking alcohol was creating this unbelievable pain? Right? Would that be enough for you to say, I'm done?
Yeah.
I'm not drinking again. Why? Because walking around is far more important than sat in a pub having a pint of ale.
Yes. Yeah.
That's another example.
Yeah, which kind of gets into a little bit around the 6 human needs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there may be one of those needs, the alcohol consumption is meeting one of those needs.
It will. If we went through that and used alcohol as an example, I would wager, without going into it, that you would probably meet 4 of those psychological needs.
Really?
You wouldn't be meeting the needs of the spirit, which are growth and contribution.
No.
But you would be meeting certainty, variety or uncertainty, significance and connection. You wouldn't be getting any love out of it, but you're connected to your alcohol.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a huge connection between you.
There's a certainty there when you can go round to the pub on your local corner and get a pint of
absolutely
Tetley bitters.
Absolutely. And variety comes from the different tastes and the different bitters, the different pubs.
Yeah.
Significance comes because you know how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
You also realise that when you've had a drink, you loosen up and you become the life and soul of the party, and you can talk and feel more significant.
Which potentially gives you also the connection as well.
Absolutely. So what have we just done there? Just very quickly, we've linked a behaviour to 4 of your psychological needs. You've only got to meet 3 on any level to be addicted.
Wow.
And addiction, as we discussed, is either healthy or unhealthy or neutrality or neutral.
Yeah.
And you owe it to yourself to think, okay, are my behaviours healthy, unhealthy, or somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
And if they're unhealthy, do the work necessary to find a different way of meeting those needs in a healthy way. And that's so damn important, because when you give something up that you've been doing for so long and you don't replace it with a new behaviour, it won't stick.
Yeah, it won't stick.
It won't stick in seconds. Continuing down the old road, and massive pleasure to going on the new path of your new behaviour. So that simultaneous associating massive suffering and associating massive joy with a new behaviour, that is also something to tip you over the edge, to get you moving and away from the old behaviour pattern.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so there's kind of 2 methods there around changing the subconscious programming. Where first of all we talk about the affirmation through consistency, and then second of all was by you have to have experienced enough pain in order for it to bring about a necessary desire to change within you.
Bingo, Pete, exactly. So that's the second. And going back to the affirmations, remember, you have to keep saying it until you believe it.
Yeah.
So if you love yourself, and this is an important aspect of what we're saying here, is that if you love yourself, then you have to correlate and align your behaviour with loving yourself. Now, a person that loves themselves will raise their standards. They will value their time. They will value what they put inside their system. Right? So self-love comes in many different forms.
Yeah. They will take gratitude for their body.
They will be grateful to their body for carrying them around this incredible experience called human life.
Yeah.
So if you're going to love yourself, you better start behaving in a way where that shows up in your life.
Yeah.
Because if you're incongruent, You say, I love myself, you know, I'm full of self-esteem, I'm self-assured, and I'm not insecure, yet all your behaviour is contradictory to those statements. What's going to happen?
Yeah, you're not going to bring about the necessary change.
And why is that?
Because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe you're supposed to be true.
Absolutely. The unconscious mind sits there again saying, you falling, trying to fool me or you?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. So if you want to swap around stuff, you've got to change shit up. You've got to do things with consistency and become your statement.
Become
your statement. That's so damn important.
Yeah. Become your vision. Okay, so there's two. Now, and there is a third. There was this, you mentioned briefly to me the other day about a sleep program.
Okay, so so just before we are falling into sleep,
I'm going to have a look at these messages. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, just before we go into sleep zone, we cross over from the conscious mind to the unconscious mind. And so the conscious mind backs off and the unconscious arises, and this is exactly what we want, because we need to change the program at the level, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you, this is a hack.
Wait, hold on. Can anybody actually hear us? You're joking. Better. Is that better? Yeah. Sorry. Uh-oh.
Is that the rain?
I think it was the rain. Microphone's off. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're back on.
Are we still up?
Yeah, we're still up. We're still up.
And they can hear us?
I think so, yeah. I hope so.
Are they all comments?
No, there's waves and people watching.
Okay. So, I hope you can hear this because it's important stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff.
So the conscious mind, as you fall into sleep, changes the brain waves change their frequency. Okay. And so if we can drop into theta, which is the brain wave when, as a child, when we were always sleeping as a baby and downloading the programs, when we drop into theta, waves, we are in the state of what we call super learning.
Ooh, okay.
And I know you like that, Peter. You like that term, super learning. So if you want to hack that, if you want to hack the body and hack the brain, these little biohacks I call them, then you could use your affirmations intelligently by pre-recording them, whatever you want to achieve, and then playing them on loop as you sleep through headphones. Right? Which is why binaural beats and different frequency modules work when we're sleeping, because they're working on the unconscious mind, because that's in attendance. The conscious mind is not there to sabotage the process. He's nowhere to be seen. The unconscious is now interacting with what you're saying, but the conscious mind is not contradicting it. Okay. And this reminds me a little bit of that scene from Matrix, where he's in the real world and he goes and sits in the chair, and the guy plugs the thing in the back of his head, and he suddenly wakes up and he says, "I know Kung Fu." Absolutely. I know how to fly a helicopter.
Yeah.
I can speak Spanish. Right, but what have they done? They've downloaded a program directly into his unconscious mind, which is this massive, infinite amount of potential in space that can store anything. You know, there are stories out there where people have been rendered unconscious and they come round and they can play the fucking piano like Mozart.
Yeah,
right?
I've heard about that.
Or speak a different language.
Yeah,
you know that,
and they don't know where it's come from.
They don't know where it's come from. Now, is that tapping into the collective Akashic records, which are like this offline storage system for the quantum field?
Yes. Ooh,
right?
Deep subject. That.
Or is it accessing previous lives when they maybe were a concert pianist, or they did live in a South American suburb?
Yeah.
Who knows? But these are interesting questions that we can unpack and discuss.
Wow, that's great. So let's just double check that everybody can hear us. And yeah, I think we're good.
We're still good?
Now we can.
We can? We're still good? I think before we wrap this up, because we don't want to keep it too long for people, is that I just noticed my golf tee on the table.
Yeah.
I'm a keen golfer. People who know me will understand this. People who don't know me, for the first time, I play a lot of golf. Now, I was playing yesterday, and an old friend who's the professional at the club, he walked up to me and we had a chat, and I said, "Oh, hi David, how are you?" And he said, "Oh, I better be careful," as he put his shoulders back. I know that you're a therapist and a coach, so I better tell you that everything's great. And I said, "Oh, well, hold on a minute. That's not what life's about.
Yeah.
for one, you are playing a role right now,
Yeah.
and secondly, the duality of human nature means by definition that you're going to be up and down.
Yeah. And you have to have that up and
You
down.
have to have that up
Yeah.
and down.
You
because-
have to have the yin and yang.
Absolutely. But how would you know pleasure without pain?
Yeah. And how would you know pain without pleasure?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the duality. It's the dualistic paradox, right? And so I said to him, it's okay to have an off day. Which we started this podcast off on. How are you today? And what do you do when you're feeling off? If you're having an off day, and they happen to everybody, first of all, learn to distinguish between a genuine off day and a general underlying laziness, which people often get them very much mixed up. When you know yourself very well, you know when you're having an off day. You can just feel it. You know, I couldn't go in the gym today. No way. My body was saying, don't train today. Take a day off. My body was saying to me today, have a nap in the afternoon, so I slept for an hour this afternoon. And that's a luxury that some people don't have. But I tuned into my body, I could sleep for an hour, so that's what I did. And it lets you know through that internal feedback of emotions and feelings where you are at any given time. And some days, guys, you're going to have a 0 day. You know, these days happen.
Yes.
And these 0 days, they're okay. It's your body's way of saying, you've worked hard, I'm mentally burnt out, I'm physically burnt out, sit on the sofa, gorge yourself on Netflix, make yourself a cup of tea, maybe, you know, eat what you like, of course, in moderation, but just vegetate and just write that day off as a 0 day, read a magazine, do some surfing, watch some YouTube clips. Don't attempt anything strenuous or too mind stressful, because you won't be at your resourceful best and you won't be able to access that intelligence needed to solve that problem anyway. So those 0 days, they're perfectly okay, but learn to distinguish between being lazy with a bag of Cheetos and Oreos and, you know, a family tub of ice cream and watching Love Island until it comes out your fucking ears, or I'm really feeling like I need to recharge here.
And it benefits you in having those
Massively.
Those recharge days. I remember when I first came back from Dubai, I had maybe about 3 months where I really just didn't do anything. I really did not want to do anything, and I just slept and I relaxed and I allowed myself to deprogram from 12 years of living in a very materialistic world, in which how I saw it anyway. And that massively helped me to recharge, to now have the energy to go forth in my various things.
It'll be different for everybody. You know, there'll be different time frames of when you have these 0 days, and you know, if you are chronically overtrained, if you're chronically overthinking, you're completely burnt out. It's going to take a little time for you to sort of understand where you are and treat your body accordingly. But the takeaway from all this is, know when you're able to push, and know when it's time to back off, but don't allow that thinking process to create a lazy program in you and say, it's okay today, I'm taking the day off. You've got to know when those days are genuinely arising, and when it's the old program saying, hey, take a day off, it's okay, sit on the sofa, lay in bed, don't do anything. Be careful of that. Okay? And so until the next time, under this very, very wet umbrella that's kept us beautifully clean and dry and warm, we will see you soon, right?
Yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you managed to hear that all in the end, and stay tuned for the next one coming soon.
And in the meantime, be legendary.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.